You know, without this glorious babe, the Speed logo would be kind of awkward here. And yes, I said babe, take that Japanese continuity. Transformers Generations had started the Legacy line, shifting gears from being primarily a Generation 1 focused line to, well, still having that be the big focus, but with more surprises from other lines. This includes where I started the Unicron trilogy, mainly the Cybertron series. Saving the planet with the 4 cyber keys before the Decepticons can use them for evil means new people to come across. Override was a big player as the champion of the Speed planet, but she's given a new toy in the Walmart exclusive Velocitron series. Override transforms into some sort of car. Of course, back then we didn't have to heavily rely on realistic cars, especially with a planet like Velocitron. We can make up anything, make a bike with 8 wheels. Doesn't make sense? Who cares? That's early 2000s for you. Design based on the original, I like how the legs fit on a slight angle. It looks like something off Speed Racer. I like the toes pointing out with mechanical details in the middle. Canopy seems small, but that's a benefit to the robot form. You know, with the head on top, you'd think they would make an Elita 1 out of it, but that hasn't happened, and with Legacy, we don't need it again. Just odd. I do like how the shoulders round off the back, and how there's multiple ports for blast effects, if it didn't already look speedy. I will say the back looks chunky, but that's because the weapon plugs in. Unfortunately, you can't swing the guns around, but there's a porthole still usable. And with it off, she's looking more like a truck. She does seem like there's more going on compared to some basic deluxes, and the wheels look good in transparent red. They roll pretty well, but it would be tragic if she didn't. Also, the canopy is hollow, so you could put in a tiny driver, and here's Extendo Car. So I think this alt mode pretty much respects the original, which I'm glad considering the previous 2 Cybertron themed vehicles had to work around being a repaint or remold. This is just pure override, and I'm glad. Robot mode. This is perfection. I never got the original Override figure, and this pretty much looks like how I remember it. I mean, I'm sure it's missing some paint apps, but am I gonna let that ruin this gorgeous goddess? Hell no. As someone who was brought in with the Cybertron series, I adore this. There was controversy about the size because people are still thinking budget isn't an argument. She's a short Voyager, so I've seen people compare her to Cyclonus and Perceptor and say this isn't reasonable. But is that a fair argument? You're comparing her to large figures in their classes. I mean, I can compare this to Na and Primal, so that doesn't really mean much. It's engineering, weight, and parts they mostly measure. And I'm gonna be honest, she feels more like a modern Voyager. Oh, and for those comparing it to the old toy, that was 15 years ago. That's not really saying much. This is just a fun toy, and she looks wicked. The size of the canopy makes sense. The gold lines give her a nice unique flow. The colors are good. The knees are tall. I don't like the way the torso collapses, but I'm not gonna let that ruin anything. Her head looks good to me as well. It's got the crest with blue, the spikes on top that look like anime eyebrows, the bulky helmet, and shiny face. I'm just wondering why they gave it transparent red plastic, then painted over it. Did someone say, articulation? Head rotation, shoulders out and in, forward to back rotation below, elbow bend, wrist rotation, waist rotation, hips out and in, forward to back rotation below, knee bend, and foot tilt. There are 2 issues. The back panel doesn't allow for much movement at the waist, but I saw a fix on TFW that requires tabs being removed. And the foot tends to fold back sometimes. Other than that, she looks absolutely stellar in certain poses. Let's take a look at the accessory. The engine can be stored on the back, but it has movable spoiler wings and twin cannons that can fold out to form the blaster in reference to the old toy. I'm not sure if it's intended, but you can plug the cyber key, and the blasters are blast compatible. She has peg holes in the feet, side of the legs, hands, side of the arm, back of the shoulders, and back. Even with the weapon because there's one on top. Oh no. There's absolutely no paint on the knees. Worst toy ever, how dare they? I'm banning all my Discord. I feel anyone who really gets upset at the nitpicks are just looking for reasons not to want it. I mean, if you don't like it, fine, but it's not like Hasbro's usual way of doing things is going to completely change with this figure. I didn't realize how much I wanted a redesign until she came out. She's a fun car, wicked to pose, she's got an amazing robot form with the iconic design. If you have huge nostalgia for the original show, this is the figure for you. I demand Thunder Blast!
Allspark TV. Now that's just prime.